Well, good morning everybody. It's Friday the 19th of July, a little while since we did the last update, but we've been having quite a lot of hot weather here. Well, I say quite a lot, probably record temperatures here in the UK, up towards 30 degrees centigrade, which is putting quite a lot of stress on the plants. We're down at the Bramling Cross, the baby's going in here. You can see that the plant's looking okay. There's plenty of water put underneath them before they were planted, so hopefully they'll be tapping into that to keep them going. And you can also see now we put some string on here just to keep them off the floor, get them growing up away from the ground, and give them a little bit of a start. They'll grow nicely up those strings, probably halfway if we get some decent weather. A bit of rain would be very nice. But you can see next door here the target, and they are starting to look under pressure. The bottoms are showing signs of drought stress. The yellowing there you can see, which is a bit of a worry. The plants are also starting to show a little bit of burr, which is a bit early for burr. You can see a little bit up there. I'll come on to that later as the burr develops in the plants, but it's very early for that to be happening. So we've had a very cool spring which has held the plants back, and now we've got a hot summer which is putting them under drought stress. So it doesn't look like it's going to be a great year this year. Growers are already reporting their crops looking a bit thin. These target look quite well in comparison, but we'll go and have a look at the Pilgrim now. We've now arrived at the Pilgrim, and you can see not quite so dark green, a little bit lighter. That's just the varietal colours on here. A lot of the Pilgrim have gone over the tops of the wires and growing across the top now, and you can see some sites there where the cones will start to form as well. Those are starting to come in. But what's a little bit worrying is that there's no lateral growth down below here. Normally you'd expect to see laterals coming out of these nodes and producing similar effect to what you've got at the top there, with the longer lateral and the sites for the burr. So we're a little bit worried about this at the moment. We could do with a bit of rain to just get the plants back into a growth mode, and hopefully we'll get some. There's nothing forecast for a week, but another fortnight of this and we could be looking at some very low yields, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. We're now in the other patch of Pilgrim, and it's a good example of what I was talking about before. You can see here the burr. This is where the female plants start to produce the cone, so it's the first signs of the cone sites. There'll be a few males in these yards. We're very unusual in the UK that we do have male plants, but it's in a long-standing history. A lot of the other countries tend to get rid of their males and just have seedless plants. But here in the UK we have seeded hops, which keep the males in the yards to fertilise these burrs as they come through. And what this does, it just drops the hop more quickly into cone, and gets it out of this sensitive stage. This stage is very sensitive to powdery mildew, so it's a good way to get the hops through more quickly into cone. Now on this patch of Pilgrim you can see that I'm actually looking along the line, and there's a little bit more of these laterals. These laterals are a little bit better than they were on the site before, but still not an awful lot of lateral there. So we could do with a bit of water. We're unusual in the UK that we normally have enough water to see us through the whole summer, but with the rainfall. But so we don't tend to irrigate quite as much. There are a few growers with irrigation, but not an awful lot. So if this drought weather continues, we could be affected quite badly by the lack of water. But in hot countries, in hotter countries like Slovenia and the US, they're irrigating all the time through the season. There's plenty of water available, and they can just turn the tap on and off when they need it. But over here we normally don't get this sort of problem, so we haven't really built in to our systems irrigation that can help us through these sort of times. But We're going to have a look at the dwarf hops now and the Goldings and see how they're looking. Here we are at the top end of the Bramling Cross, and the target you can see there in the distance. The Bramling Cross are now going in. I think there's a bit of a delay waiting for the pegs at the bottom there. They had to have some pegs made, but the plants are going in. I sympathise with the team if they're planting today, because the forecast is for very hot weather. There's even a weather warning for temperatures above 30 degrees C 3 days in a row, so it won't be nice out there, and they're going to have to put plenty of water into the hole they make into the bottom of the hole. Important not to put it on top of the plant, and that way that encourages the roots downwards into the soil and to get them established there. But it's a beautiful morning here, but not ideal for planting hops, and you can see the grass is starting to look a little bit yellower down to the hot weather we've been having. We're now in the Goldings. You can see down there, down the bottom of the plants there, the yellowing, that stress coming onto the plant, and not a lot of lateral growth coming out from the sides of the plants here yet. We hope that will develop a little bit as we get into to August. But there is quite a lot of burr at the tops now. You can see, I hope you can see on here, there's a lot of cone formation, but but burr formation where the cones will be. There's a lot on this particular bit here. You can see that. But the worrying thing is that there isn't a thickness of burr that you'd normally expect to see, so they're not looking as strong or as bountiful as they perhaps should at this stage. But there's still a long way to go. We'll keep our fingers crossed and hope for a bit of rain. That's the main thing. Here we are in the Sovereign and the Endeavour. You can see the Endeavour here on the left hand side of the row. They're looking quite well actually. The Endeavour seem to have coped with this heat a lot better than the Sovereign. The Sovereign have been a little bit disappointing, not growing quite as quickly. You can see Endeavour here in burr. This is the female flower waiting for the male pollen to land on it so it can fertilise the site and start to produce the cone. They will produce cones, as we said before, without the male pollen, but the seed, they don't produce any seed. In the UK here we do have the seed. So looking down the row here, on the right hand side is the Sovereign, on the left hand side is the Endeavour. Endeavour's looking very strong in this particular row, not so well in some other rows. And the Sovereign in this row, well, there's some patches and the plants don't seem to have really filled out yet. Quite a few growers reporting that their hedgerow hops are looking a little bit thin, and so we're hoping that will improve over the next week or so. But once they start to produce burr, they tend not to then go on and put any more leaf on. So this might be as much as we're going to get, but fingers crossed. Let's hope that they start to perform a bit better and we get a bit of moisture. That's the Sovereign and the Endeavour.